Miami. Their win total's 9.5. Plus 128 on the over. Carson Beck in at Miami. I think it's very easy to fall in the Carson Beck love trap. I mean,
how?
Oh, he was.
If your last name's Cavender, or what?
That's a different. We'll get Dylan. I think Dylan's got
fall into the Carson Beck trap. Sorry.
But he was a projected number 1 pick. You could fall into the hype train of it all. Does he just kind of fall into that Spencer Rattler camp of kind of is what he is?
Or, Dylan, maybe you can answer this for me. Does he come to the ACC and just light it up?
That we have a pretty good track record of quarterbacks coming over from more difficult, more defensive-minded conferences.
Name 2.
Oh, you got 2 on me, huh?
Kyle McCord. Name
Kyle
2.
McCord. Mild Concord.
Malik Murphy.
Malik Murphy.
Yeah, there you go.
Max Johnson for a game. Come on now.
The Carson Beck thing is tough for me because we saw how he performed with what I would say was a worse offensive Georgia roster last year. He might be a personnel merchant. Like it's kind of like a Will Howard thing. Well, if you have 4 or 5-star wide receivers, then yeah, you're going to be a pretty good quarterback. What I want to focus on with Miami is a bit counter to what I think people want to discuss, and that's the defense. The defense was awful last year. I'm going to offer you a caveat.
Awful.
I'm going to offer you a caveat. Caveats coming in. Last year, they took a lot of flack. They were the 14th ranked defense. They had the 14th best defensive rating. Why is that? They were awful in coverage. They were atrocious in tackling. Defensive line. The defensive line was, regardless of what you want to say about Miami's defense, the defensive line was very strong on that team. And they returned a lot of those guys, and they addressed the issues, again, in the portal. We talk about Clemson addressing their issues in the portal. You can't tell me it gets any worse for Miami in the secondary this year, no matter who you go out and get. They might as well have not put anybody out there last year. So getting new guys in and filling those spots, I think, is going to be very beneficial for them. The Carson Beck issue remains a question for me. Very interesting dynamic for me going with Miami right now because I was so high on him last year. I kind of want to be high on him this year, but the Beck question, is he even going to be, coming back from shoulder surgery, I believe? Or
shoulder surgery and a broken heart.
Oh, poor guy. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to get from Beck, and that's ultimately my biggest question mark. But I think this is a defense a lot of people are going to come into the year and say, wow, this defense was awful last year. They're returning a lot of the starters on the defensive line, addressing issues in coverage. I think this defense is going to take a step up.
I could see that being a thing where we go into the season with Miami, and every Miami fan is sitting there going, man, if we could have just given Cam Ward this defense, we would have been playing in the semifinals of the college football playoff probably. And then you have to give up 1,000 points to every single team in the ACC last season, and Cam Ward had to do major, major heroics. My thing is, great on the defensive line stuff, correct, and all that. You're overhauling everything on the defense, and I know you had to. It's just a crapshoot whether you believe, okay, is this going to be that much better? And then on the flip side of that, you go to the Carson Beck side. Cam Ward had to pull off miracle after miracle. I mean, it was wizard-like stuff to win some of these football games last year. Carson Beck doesn't have that in him. And so if it is anywhere remotely like that, this Miami team's not winning 10 games.
Unfortunately, I'm going to agree with you because the way I look at it, Miami needs Carson Beck to elevate them. They need him to play to his full potential to get back in that conversation of a top 5, top 10 NFL pick next year for them to make any noise in this conference. And I'm not sure that I see it. You touch on the D-line. Yes, it's better. Ruben Bain is who I wrote down. 7.5 sacks, 12.5 tackles for loss as a freshman. He missed a few games last year, but he's healthy now. The secondary, like Dylan said, has been overhauled. I think there's 5 transfers in the secondary. So, you can't be worse than last year in that regard. But you turn to offense. You want to talk about question marks. Their top 6 pass catchers from last year are gone. They don't return a single player who caught over 10 passes from last year. And I get it. There's some, good transfers. There's some talented players there from other schools, from smaller schools. The new wide receiver core isn't amazing. The tight end Elijah Lofton had a few big plays from what I saw in my research. But there's a lot of unproven commodities on the offense as well as the defense. So that's why I have a lot of concerns at every other position for Miami. And even if you feel good, not great about Carson Beck, I don't know what the ceiling for this team is. 9-3. I think 9-3 is the ceiling.
And you gave up the you lose the number one overall pick, and not to mention all of their wide receivers gone. The top wide receivers, they had a great wide receiver group last year. Now I do like C.J. Daniels and Keelan Marion coming in. I think they're good, but you also lose Damian Martinez.
It's all new.
It's all new at this point. And then on top of it, I think Kirby had one of the most damning quotes about Carson Beck. When Gunnar Stockton came in and played in the SEC title game, he goes that this Georgia team just plays harder when Gunnar's out there. I think that's a damning quote for Carson Beck, and I think that shows maybe the NIL got to his head a little bit. I think Miami's probably the worst place to go if NIL's getting to your head.
I agree with that. Because that is one of the top priorities in Coral Gables is NIL. So.
NIL and boob jobs.
Yeah, there you go. Very timely, Carter.
Very timely.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dylan, you talked about Carson Beck with a worse plethora of Georgia weapons last year and how he downgraded from the Bowers and Ladd McConkey team. How's that getting any better with Miami? I think Miami's weapons are significantly worse this year as opposed to last year, and maybe that's just because Cam Ward was so damn good. But I still, with the new faces, with so much turnover at the skill positions, I don't think Carson Beck is going to be good enough to elevate them to a college football playoff berth. I don't think they're making the college football playoff.
Is it crazy? This is so counter what we're used to talking about with Miami, the ACC. There is a world where Miami's defense is good enough to where Carson Beck might not be asked to put the game on his shoulder like Cam Ward had to do.
It's got to.
You might just go to Carson Beck and say, "Hey, don't turn the ball over." I don't know. This was the 7th best rush defense last year. That front is no joke. If the secondary is just 50% better than what they were last year, you might not need to put up 40 points a game to win. That's a legit possibility for Miami this year. Never thought I would say it.
I think that's fair.
I think if you're a Miami fan, that's what you have to hang your hat on.
And that's boring. As a Michigan fan, that's boring football, Miami fans. But I'm telling you, you win championships that way.
So you're saying Big Ten Miami football?
Big Ten, a good old, I was trying to make a play with Ohio, Miami of Ohio. Good old Midwest football.
Let me ask this question about Carson Beck. Can you name a game outside of Georgia Tech where you felt he put the team on his back and won the game for him during his time at Georgia?
No,
but that's not how my brain works.
Yeah, man, mine either. But off the top of my head, it always seemed like, Brock Bowers with 12 catches, or what a grab by Ladd McConkey, or ETN bust another run. Like, it was never Carson Beck is taking this game over. And I could be wrong, and somebody's going to fact check us and be like, well, actually, but off the top of my head, as the casual fan, no.
Yeah.
But you might not have to.
Yeah.
Might not have to, but
I got one more stat for Dylan here. Miami was 120th in the NCAA last year in penalty yards. 120th. Ooh. So they're going to have to improve on that to make the Dylan Wilkerson. Yeah.
That is institutional. That's procedural.
That's not changing?
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. Now, here, I will say, I don't think I like Clemson a lot more than this Miami team. I'm not going to sit here and say, last year I was touting Miami as the ACC winner, could make the run of the national championship. And we were kind of right, a little right. we're going to get some credit for that. But this year, I'm not as confident. The path looks a lot different for Miami this year than it did last year, and I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think maybe Cristobal came to the realization is like, hey, it's fun having a quarterback that's going to throw for 6 touchdowns a game, but maybe that's not how you build sustainable success in college football now. So
you don't want to play in the 40s every game?
If you want to play in the 40s, that's where you come to the Big Ten, baby. It's 40s all fall around here.
Does Cristobal need to make the college football playoff this year? Is this kind of a prove-it year for Miami? A little bit. I understand they won 10 games last year, but first season 5-7, 7-6, 10-3. Yeah, you're getting continual progress, but I feel like it'd be really disappointing in Miami with the amount of money they're putting into that program if he comes out here and goes 7-5, 8-4.
I wouldn't say that, but I would say you need to not have a collapse at the end of the year, and you need to not have a stupid Miami Georgia Tech incident from 2 years ago. So it's like if you play respectable football, you lose 2 games kind of separate, spread them out, maybe make the ACC championship lose. I don't think it's make it to the playoffs or bust, but you can't have collapse. You can't have these big things happen that allow boosters to be in the AD's ear and be like, why are we paying for this? You almost have to kind of slide in. It's kind of like, what would be a good analogy for this? Whenever you mess up, you just don't want to make it big and you don't want to make it back to back. Just kind of ease by, skate by.
I think that makes sense. And I agree with that. And also, you just can't pull a Florida State from last year and go 2-10 and have like some kind of major
every
collapse.
coach in the country, though. I mean, yeah.
Unless you're Mike Norvell, then it's fine.
Yeah, Mike Norvell, you go 3-9. You're talking about progress at that point.
Yeah, welcome back.
Last thing on Miami, really quick, their toughest games: Notre Dame, Florida, Louisville, SMU, NC State, Pitt, and quick over/under for Miami. I'm going under 9.5.
I would go under. Like I said, with the ACC, it's so tough. There's 3 games I see here that they could lose that they probably will be favorites in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under as well. This screams 8-4 to me. So to get under 9.5 and plus money, or sorry, the over's plus money. So under 9.5's juiced. This screams 8-4.
Yeah, it does.
Play that defense, baby. Miami, I'm telling you, you're going to love it.